Hello flight humans and welcome to another shop review, and today we're going to look at the Action X and the T95E2. Well, we'll have a look. Now, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to join my Discord server as well. Let's get right into it with the stats of the Centurion, because we don't even have to talk about T92, because why the hell would you buy it? Now let's have a look at the stats of the Action X, and you can already see disappointment creeping in. You have 2700 DPM, which is relatively good. However, the regular Carnarvon has more and also has higher alpha damage while having the same penetration, so the regular Carnarvon has a better gun in that sense. Now the Chieftain T95 was sold for 4,000 gold, which is half the price of the Action X, and doesn't have nearly half the performance. Even it's about maybe 1 to 2% worse. You have higher alpha damage on this vehicle, and you have balanced out penetration around it. So in terms of the gun, the Chieftain, in terms of the alpha damage, the Chieftain has the better gun. Now, dispersion is excellent on the Action X, so that's something that works out for it. FC 0.1, which is massively better than all the others here in this comparison. Also the regular Carnarvon. So the weapon handling on this vehicle is absolutely excellent. However, you need very low aim time because your reload is very short, and you're going to have to essentially peek all the time to be able to make this thing work. Now, the mobility is worse than the Chieftain, so that's lovely. As you can see, by quite some margin here, especially in the, well, the hard terrain here. It's like basically hard, soft water. And as far as I'm aware, the traverse speed of the Action X, however, is better than that of all the others here, so that is a lovely feature there. Now, in terms of the armor, it is doing fine-ish. The problem with the Carnarvon may be, well, we'll have a look at that later. Now, in terms of performance, as you can see, it's doing better. But, again, what you should really be looking at for is the T54E2, which is just outright a massively better vehicle. And it has been sold for 8.5k before, so you would be somewhat dumb to buy a significantly worse tank for the same price when you can have a tank of almost equal performance for half the price, right? Look at the armor of the Carnarvon Action X. Lower plate, weak spot as always. Upper plate can be penned if you're looking down on it, not by much as well. You have about 250 millimeters, which means a lot of tier 9 premium rounds are going to go straight through. You have a cupola on top, which is obviously very weak. It's pretty far at the back. If you use your 10 degrees of gun depression, which is a great feature of this vehicle, then it can still be somewhat seen. However, the problem with this vehicle is that it has spots down here on the turret, as you can see, 230, that can still be penned right here in the middle of the turret, that if you aim accurately, you can still pen. You can also pen this plate up here in certain situations. Obviously, because it is 264, a lot of premium rounds can still pen this thing. Now, side scraping is also not going to work because, again, the turret basket is set on this extrusion from the hull, which means if you side scrape, you can just get shot here, and the side armor isn't really that thick anyway. And as you can see, you can't get shot right in this plate, which is not great. So on top of the armor, it should be better for what it is, because you need an insane amount of armor to be able to constantly fire like you have to do with this vehicle, because you do shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot, but you don't really do a lot of damage, and that's the downfall of this vehicle. But now, let's first have a look at the T95E2, and then let's play this one afterwards. And if you have to advertise reverse speed as a special feature, then that tank is probably not going to do very well, is it? And now here we go, first of all, with the T95E2, a name that I will never remember correctly, because this vehicle is about as relevant as, well, I don't know. But anyway, this thing is something that you should be paid to play it, because it's so bad that there is essentially absolutely nothing that is going to make this thing worth it. Now, what's also not good is when your team decides that they want to be bad and they go into the city part of the game. Luckily, the enemy Chrysler has decided he wants to throw as well. Now, essentially, what the problem is with this vehicle, you have no armor that is noteworthy at all. And you also have not good mobility combined with a Panther 2 light gun, which is fine, but it is obviously not going to be carrying the tank at all, because if you have no armor and relatively crappy mobility for a medium tank like this, then at least the traverse speed's pretty good, but the forward speed's kind of Why? So, what you have here is you have a vehicle that you should definitely avoid under any circumstances. For 5k! That's mental! That is absolutely and utterly mental for a tank like this. For 5k, you can get a Chieftain T95 for 4k a couple of months ago. You could have gotten an AMX M449 for 5k 2 Black Fridays ago or something like that. Now, I know you can't do that anymore, but just to put it into perspective, what you're actually paying here, you're paying 5,000 gold for a tank that absolutely will underperform. And you're probably going to get this thing to, you know, get, you know, premium time. But you can't do that because I can't even pen anything most of the time because the penetration's abysmal as well. And that is definitely not something you would want because the bad penetration you have, you're going to have to shoot a lot of heat, and that is not going to give you a lot of crits if you can shoot that heat, if you haven't died already. So, this is definitely one of those vehicles that I would absolutely avoid under any circumstances. And, I mean, the regular Pershing's better than this. So, yeah. To all intents and purposes, this thing does not exist. It is absolutely irrelevant. And, yeah, that's how that goes, obviously. You have amazing tanks in this game. A T-42, an AMX 149, a Chimera. Chimera's been sold for, I think, 7.5k. That's a good deal. You can do that if you go back to that. So, there are good bundles in the shop. However, unfortunately, be it deliberately or on purpose, there are few of them. And there we go with the Action X, and given 8,000 gold for this vehicle is utter lunacy. Now, you could have gotten the Chieftain T95 for half the price, which is about the tank that delivers 95% of the performance of this tank, or you could have gotten the T-94E2 for essentially 8.5k gold, which delivers massively better performance, or if you were to have a time machine, you can go back 2 years, you could get the MX M449 for 5,000 gold. So, this is essentially a mediocre tank for a very much too big price here, given what else is on the market. Now, if you insist on getting this tank, then I wouldn't. Now, the problem with this tank is that even though you shoot, you don't actually do any damage. And that's kind of the problem with it. You have, well, 4 seconds reload with this tank. However, it is so bad in terms of the alpha damage of only 160, which is absolutely laughable for a tier 8 heavy tank. That shouldn't even exist, something like that. That even though you shoot 20 times, you're not going to be having been done much damage. And that is the whole problem of this vehicle. You have armor that is okay, however, you have to fire all the time, and peaking every 4.5 seconds is going to result in you losing a lot of hit points, and that is not going to end very well for you at all. And essentially what you have to do is, this is a second line heavy tank, because if you frontline it, you're going to get out-traded by everything else. So now, let's see whether I can actually take out this guy. Nope. T28 does it. And now, I've done 6-7 shots here. In a T-42, I'll be well clear of 2,000 damage at this point. But I haven't even done 2,000 at this point. So, you have to fire and fire and fire and fire with this tank, and that is just not good. Because the more you fire, the more you have to expose yourself. And given that this tank's armor is not bad, but it's flimsy, certainly that is not going to do absolutely amazingly, that is for sure. Now look at that, 1,300 damage. I would be well clear into the almost 3k now with the same amount of shots with a T-42. But I'm not, because I'm doing 190 alpha damage, not 310. And now, let's try and go around here. The LTG, that is something that I can actually match with alpha damage, somewhat. Probably not, though. I think the LTG has 200 or something. What are you doing? Okay, that's essentially the best way for this tank to get damage, because otherwise you don't do any. So, what I would do with this vehicle, you have a very flimsy construction with a very, very bad price. So, stay away from this tank. That's my advice here. And it is definitely not worth buying. It is overpriced and underperforming. Now, yes, you have the high DPM. However, you're going to need quite a lot of skill to actually make this thing work, because, again, I got done 2,400 damage, and I've shot like 15 times at this point. So, yeah, it's not very good, is it? Anyway, with that said, don't buy it. Also, don't get the other one. This is a bundle that is essentially tested the water of player stupidity, in my opinion. So, I would stay away from it at all costs and buy something that is worth it. There are good bundles in the shop occasionally. However, unfortunately, to the pain of me and also you, there is not really that many. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching. See you next one. Goodbye.